Welcome to the Industry Edge podcast, where we dive into strategies and insights from leaders shaping the world's hardest working industries. If you're passionate about making a big impact in B2B, you're in the right place. Now let's get started.
Hi, my name is Danielle Neely, your host of the Industry Edge podcast. This episode is brought to you by K&C Marketing. K&C is a full-service marketing agency that helps B2B industrial companies grow their brand and increase sales. To learn more about K&C's brand development, marketing, and website design services, visit kncmarketingagency.com. Now, today's guest is Robbi Dickens, Senior Manager at Eisner Amper. Robbie leads business process transformation and internal audit engagements across public and private sectors. He's also worked in Homeland Security and helped one of the nation's largest utilities with operational assurance. Now, Robbie partners with local governments and utilities to modernize operations, improve financial oversight, and tackle infrastructure risks. Robbie, welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, first one is easy. Tell us a little bit more about you and your role and your experience and kind of how you ended up where you're at.
Sure. Thank you. So I work for Eisner Amper. We are a global accounting and business advisory firm. And so if you think on the accounting side, you have tax audit assurance. On the business advisory side is consulting. So that's what I do. Within that, I work in risk and compliance services. And so we do internal audit, we do risk, we do business process. I predominantly work in business process, and I manage our water and sewer rate studies. And so most often work with public and private companies, whether they're government agencies or private companies that need help with their processes. And so that could be going in and reimagining their process. More and more that's having AI as a component of it. But we help them reimagine their processes. We map it out. We see where they have issues. We try to make it more effective, look at their documentation, how they manage it, how they oversee it, and hopefully make it run more effectively. And so I spend a lot of my time in business process and a lot of my time in water and sewer rate studies with kind of this niche place with local municipal water and sewer utilities.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm doing right now.
All right. That's amazing. So how did you get plugged into that specific niche? I feel like that, you guys do a lot and you work with different clients. So how did you kind of find your sweet spot there, and what made you want to tackle that based off of your experience?
Right. So prior to being at the firm, I worked at TVA, the largest public utility in the country, which is here in Tennessee. It's over 7 states with 9 or 10 million customers. And so I worked in audit compliance there for about 9 years. And my last 4 years, I was the director of the internal audit function. It was called operational assurance. And so the work we did there was directly transferable to what we do at the firm. And so after you've worked in a utility, even though that was electric power as opposed to water and sewer, it's generally the same environment. And you're looking at process and you're looking at people, processes, performance. And so it felt like a natural fit. So about 3 years ago, our firm won a bid on water and sewer rate studies for a state. And we stood up a new service and put together products. And they said, "Hey, Robbie, didn't you used to work in the utility space?" And I said, "Well, we weren't doing rate studies, but nonetheless." And so in the consulting world, which is one thing I love about it the most, you find your way to new places. And if you're interested and you've got the expertise and a little bit of the background, you can find your way there. So my background at TVA, a need at the firm, translated to me managing our water and sewer rate studies. Our work at TBA in the business process space, what we did in operational assurance, while it was an internal audit function, I mean, what we did every day was working on process. And so both of those areas seem like a natural fit to what I'm doing at Eisner Amper.
Yep.
So that's how I would say stumbled my way into what I'm doing today.
They've got a good one. You really know what you're doing for sure.
That's the story, right? That's the hope.
And I'm sticking to it, right? Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So can you walk me through a really cool example or one that you're particularly proud of where you've fixed a broken process? What was the process and what was going wrong within a utility, and how did you turn it around? What was the impact on the people that worked there? What was the impact on the operations itself from a financial standpoint? What story are you particularly proud of?
Okay. So we partnered with, in the state of Louisiana, we partnered with a contractor, an engineering firm who we work a lot with. And in the state of Louisiana, they have Louisiana Department of Health, and they were taking over, putting into receivership, and this is all public record. They were putting into receivership a water system. And so this system had gone at least 10 years, closer to 15 years without having drinkable water. And so the effect is local ratepayers would pay, let's call it $50 to $60 a month for a water bill for a product they couldn't consume. They would have to boil it. And so the state of Louisiana put in a receivership. That's not uncommon around the country. Every state does it differently. They put it into receivership, and that means a receiver took over. And so we were a subcontractor to this receiver. So what did we do? We got in there and we were over the operational assessment to how they did their business processes and the back office accounting, looking at their rates. The main goal that we were supporting on was the receiver was trying to put together 3 options for the state. So do you buy from somewhere else? Do you fix up the current system? Or do you knock it down, literally, maybe, and start over? And so we were supporting those options. Now, the receiver, they were the ones on the ground, literally sometimes 24 hours a day, keeping the water system online. We went in and used the term boots on the ground earlier. Literally, a colleague of mine and I were walking around this deep in water around the water treatment plant, doing an assessment of how they do business. Everything from their documentation, their safety procedures, how they manage the system, their oversight. And we put together an assessment of, hey, this is what it would take for this to be a normal functioning system. And then our accounting team met with everyone from the mayor to the accountant to you name it, to look at the rates and say, of these options, what would be the implications to the ratepayer? Because ideally, for local municipalities all over the country, their goal is you want to have a decent, fair rate, and you want to have a product that can be consumed, whether that's drinking water or saying we're safely, effectively handling your sewage. And so in this case, we worked really hard with the contractor we were supporting, and we came up with options. We supported them on the options. We put together a plan, and it was a huge team effort. What I would say is, when you're working in complicated situations like this, it's not just like, oh, we worked on it and we fixed it. There you go. It's done. Where I think it's led to is that I know that this district got a $5 million subsidy or a grant, either from the state or the feds. And it led to them getting a new operator as well as a new filtrator system. And so in time, through our work supporting the receiver, hopefully the people of this district have water that they can drink and take a bath in. I had one person tell me, I haven't bathed in this water in 14 years. So while local water district, it may not seem glamorous, the people doing that work in the water treatment plant, I mean, they are doing God's work. I mean, they are doing stuff that impacts our lives daily. So we were proud of the work we did in that partnership, because hopefully it will lead to people being able to drink their water, take a bath in their water, and hopefully the $55 a month that they put towards their bill, there's a trade-off, right? And so that's something that comes to mind as something we're really proud of. Most of the efforts like that are large team efforts. And so it usually ends up where no one person can say, hey, we did the work, but we were proud to belong to that receivership team. Anytime something ends up at that stage, and again, every state does it differently, but anytime you end up at that stage, the ratepayers are not in a good place. So we would have rather not been there, because that means they would have been able to drink their water. But since there was a problem, we were proud to work on it. We were proud to literally be boots on the ground, literally be standing in the water, assessing how they do business, providing options, and our accounting team doing fantastic work looking at the rate. So that's one that jumps to mind. It's kind of a worst case scenario, but it was something that we worked out really hard on, and we're proud of the work.
Yeah, that is incredible. First off, thank you for sharing that. I think something that we take water, we take this clean water coming out of our faucets, out of our showers for granted. Bathing,
Yes.
have small children, being able to put my children in the bath. That's something that you don't think about people here in like that's something that you think about oh, maybe in third world
elsewhere.
countries or something like that, but that this is happening here in America is very eye-opening as far, and the fact that some of these people, you said what, 15 years that people felt like they couldn't, is that what you said?
Yes, for a
Wow.
variety of reasons. You'd be surprised how often this happens across the country because, especially in rural areas,
Mhm.
low socioeconomic areas, it, if you think about the full life cycle, you have to bring in funds with ratepayers. So they don't want to raise rates on their ratepayers. That's a noble idea.
Mhm.
What that means is there's not funds to fix what's wrong. And
Yep.
so whether that's preventative maintenance or even corrective after it's going wrong. So then they get into just treading water. They're bad scenarios. Rarely is it just like, oh, this one person's to blame. I mean, if they're just bad scenarios, it's a lot more common than you would think. And then if you overlay local elected politics and officials with that, a lot of them will run on not raising rates. And we're not saying you should or you shouldn't. We're just saying the reality is that stuff costs money and these systems cost money. And so it's always a win when someone can stumble into their kitchen in the middle of the night and turn on the faucet and drinkable water comes out. So if that's happening for you, kudos to your system.
Yeah. Goodness. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned,
Absolutely. Thanks for asking.
yeah, you mentioned earlier before, but just kind of touched on it, and then we've talked about it offline a little bit, but talking about the importance of water and sewer rate studies and why that is so important in maintaining. Can you explain, which I feel like for these type of scenarios, obviously, but explain why they're so crucial and why they impact not only the operational side, but what we're talking about, like people living in these communities and their lifestyle and what they're able to do, what the importance of those studies are.
Right. Absolutely. So a water or a sewer rate study on one level is not rocket science. And so you have really three, we just boil it down to three components, right? So you have your rates, you have your rate payers, they pay their bills. How much revenue do you bring in, as well as any other revenue streams? You have the cost to run the system. Maybe you have some debt as well. And then you have your usage. How much do your customers use over time? So your revenue, the cost, and your usage. We take those things, obviously, at a lot more detail, and we project out whether your system is called sustainable. So we give you a sustainability factor. And ideally, you would want it to be above 1.0. And so a sustainability factor is, in essence, your breathing room. It's your margin, right? It's what you have for a rainy day. It is common for local districts to just plan to keep their sustainability factor at or below 1 because they don't want to raise rates, or they may have financial troubles, they may have budget issues. What that does is, if you think about your car, right? You may pay to keep, the tires on and oil changes and things of that nature. But if you're not putting away money in savings and your carburetor goes out, you have an engine problem. Well, then one of two things happens. Number one, you fix it with money you hadn't planned on and maybe go in debt. Or number two, you don't fix it and it runs at risk over time. So if you think about a water system, when you get into bad scenarios and they haven't put away money, they don't have margin and they have problems. So maybe they haven't invested in preventative maintenance. Then they have problems. It comes time to correct it. Either A, they need to bring in debt. They'll look for subsidies. They'll look for federal money, state money. B, they'll raise rates, which sometimes you have to do. Or
Mm.
C, they'll do nothing, and you find yourself with a product and a system that has issues. And so inevitably, whether it's your aerators or filtrators or pipes or any type of pump or valve or system, it costs money to fix. And so what we do is we do a rate study, and we give you at the end a summary report that tells you what your sustainability factor is. And it projects ahead for some period of time. So maybe 5 years, maybe it's 10 years. And we say, hey, here's what your sustainability will look like for 10 years. And then we give you also a model with that. And so that model, which is fairly sophisticated, you can use that. It's unlocked. You can use that to budget it and plan for your system for the coming 10 years. And so what it does is it helps a local district plan smarter. It's not about necessarily raising rates. It could be in some cases, but it's about planning smarter. And so we think that a water or a sewer rate study is very useful planning for your local officials, because that will keep your system not only sustainable, it'll keep it fair. So you want to think about your different ratepayers and your rate structures. So you want to be fair, reasonable, and at a way that will be bringing in the right amount of billings that will help you keep some margin in place. And so while it's not super sophisticated, water and sewer rate studies are picking up steam more and more, because as federal dollars get pumped out for infrastructure, a lot of that infrastructure money is tied to having a sustainability factor of above 1, right? So it could be 1.15. And so we come in and we look at those districts, look at their systems and make sure it's sustainable, so they get the money, they get to keep the money, and their system benefits from it. So that's a water and sewer rate study. Again, the first time I watched your podcast, you were talking to somebody from the electric community, from the utility industry, and you were talking about, hey, this is working class, podcast here. Like, we're talking to people that do real work, right? Well, the studies that we do are with local utilities, and there's nothing more hands-on than a local water or sewage district. So that's kind of the general synopsis of what it looks like.
Proactive approach versus reactive, right? Because I would
That's
say
right.
typically that people are just reacting and then they're out a bunch of money. So it's like exactly what you said. That car analogy breaks it down in something that a lot of us can understand, as far as you got to save it for a rainy, you got to have margin and money baked. So then on those situations, you're not going into debt and in a real dire situation. And in the context of water, that could be, a matter of life and death in a sense.
And, when you move in, let's say you find a new house, so a new community, a new neighborhood, or a new city, people just assume that the water will come on and be drinkable. They just assume, at least in America, that the waste will be flushed and it goes somewhere and it's done something appropriate with it. And so there's a lot of responsibilities on local districts. And so we like doing it because not only is it something we think we're good at as a firm, we're getting more and more experience. It's also something that it's a direct impact to customers and to the districts. And so, yes, it's something that we take great pride in. It's fairly new for our firm. We've only been doing it. We're in about probably our 3rd year now. But we, by early next year, we'll have knocked off probably almost close to 50, right under 50 water and sewer rate studies. So we get a lot of practice, and something I never thought I would find myself enjoying doing so much, but I am.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned you watched an episode. I believe it was Nick Newman, TAUD. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, that was very eye-opening. I think something that he mentioned too, a lot of, is how much opportunity for growth, like a career in this space is. Like you've built your entire career in these type of sectors, and you've been able to create a great life for yourself. And you also are a dad of 4. So I gotta also plug in the fact that, but there's
Thank you.
yeah, there's so much opportunity for growth in this space. And I feel like it's something that, especially younger people entering the workforce, I feel like a lot of the time don't even know that these type of things, like you just take water and how we get access to it, how we flush our toilet, we take all of that for granted. So it's like there's careers and things that are able to be built that people don't even know about, especially young people.
Absolutely. And especially if you think about the prominence of AI right now, there's a concern for new college graduates. My oldest is a junior at LSU. And so you're starting to think about, hey, what's going to be my first job? And so if you think about all the conversation and talk that's going on about AI, and does it or doesn't it take away entry-level jobs? There are some fields that are just tried and true and that we are going to need. And that's whether if you're in the electric power space and you're a lineman, whether you're climbing poles, whether you work at a substation. My first job in college, I worked at a municipal steam plant, the night shift at a municipal steam plant. We provided hot water. And I didn't think at the time it was super interesting, but I never thought I would use that again. Is that you can work with your hands literally or in an adjacent area like we're doing while I work for a consulting firm. So we're in offices per se. We are working directly adjacent to things that matter. You can reach out and touch. And yes, people can make handsome wages for themselves, whether they're own the company, run the company, represented by the company, represented by a union, whatever it is in the life cycle. There's great livings to be made, which is exciting in the era because we live in a science fiction era. But making sure somebody can drink their water is a noble calling.
Yeah. Awesome. You mentioned AI, so being a big part of obviously what you're doing on the operational side and helping solve those challenges. How have, because I just know our client, like, we work with water, wastewater, we work with, the rugged industrial brands. Um, Technology, it can be a scary thing for people in general. Change is scary in general, but how are you navigating that, like, usage of AI and implementing that for these types of customers that you're working with, and how have people been receiving it? Are they excited? Are they scared? Are they what? Tell
Yeah.
me, get me into that.
So it's interesting because if you think about it, you're right. Technology can be scary. But I bet if you're like listening in with the people you work with at the personal level, right? So you pick up your phone at the personal level, it's everywhere. It's widespread. It's ubiquitous, right? And so people are not afraid to use whether it's Copilot or Chat GPT or whatever app they have. They're not afraid to use it to plan their vacation,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's when it becomes in the professional business sense and you're trying to integrate it into a workflow that people, I think, are getting frankly nervous because they're not sure what to do. They're not sure where to start. And so a lot of times people will talk about AI in the business world like it's, like a toy lightsaber. Like, how do I buy one? And then like, who do I hit with it? And they're not exactly sure where to integrate it. And so I think what we're seeing is there's different subsets of people. Some people are very educated on it and they're like, hey, we want it. How do we integrate it? Some people are just at that just curious level. Hey, I feel like I should be using this. Should I? And so one thing that we do, we have an AI group that actually does provide those types of services to clients. And so what we do is we go in and we reimagine the process. We look at the process and then we next decide, do you need AI? A lot of businesses don't frankly need generative AI. Sometimes they just need a fancy Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes they just need formulas. Sometimes they need an off the shelf software. Sometimes they need, if you go a little bit higher, some machine learning. Not everybody needs generative AI, like the deeper nuanced, practices in AI. Some do. And so there's an assessment to be made. Do you even need it? And then if you do, how do you work that into the way you do business? So if you are a local utility, do you need it in your billing? Maybe. Maybe you don't. Do you need it for your call system? Well, if you're going to put out the same message over and over, you don't. If you want it to adapt and grow and change with the caller, then maybe you do. And so what we're seeing is a healthy curiosity. You're right. Some people are skeptical, which I think is normal with any new thing. But I think more than anything, people want to know where do we start? So I think that's what we're experiencing.
Additional question on that. Once you identified, yes, you do need some sort of AI, whether it's on back end operations or if it's like what you're saying, a phone, like a phone system, phone call, what you guys are walking through the implementation of that process for them.
That's right. So it could be everything from introductory, where we come in and have I'd call it a sprint session where we roll up our sleeves next to you and we're actually, let's say you've picked a process and we literally have it up on the wall on a screen and we're walking through that process with you, either showing you how to use AI real time. It could just be something like analysis and reading data and things of that nature. Um, but let's just say we do a diagnosis with you and it needs something legitimate, real, like engineering, then yes, we have a team that actually does the large language model design, engineering. We have platforms, partnerships with Microsoft. And so, yes, if you put that in the category in quotes of the work, we actually do the engineering as well. And so every company is going to be on a different place on that distribution. And so for some, they may be saying, hey, I want help with our billing. I want help with manufacturing, our supply chain. It may be on this end. For some, it's going, we want a platform, an app where our customers can buy things and it's more adaptable. Okay, well, it may be designing something on this end. But yeah, we do the full life cycle, which is exciting. We're proud to do that. If you think about AI is the wave, it doesn't feel like it's crested yet. I mean, we're learning new things every day. Obviously, if you think about Wall Street and the economy and the market, is there a bubble? Is there not? Whole separate conversation to be had. And so I think Eisner Amper is excited and proud to be part of the wave. But more than anything, I mean, our goal, and this may sound like a talking point, but it's real, is to be the world's most admired professional services firm. And so more than anything is we're trying to help customers and clients figure out what makes sense to them. We don't just need to sell them something to sell them something, which is fun, but like you may not need it, and that's okay. Let's help you with something basic. So that's kind of where we are
Yeah.
on this full spectrum.
You're not just pushing something on, you're assessing whether or not you even need it, right? Like if somebody's
Right.
asking about it, even if somebody came to you like, "Hey, I want to get like dip my toes into it," you guys would be honest about, "Hey, as we look at it, don't see any benefit here." Or, "Yeah, maybe we do see some benefit in this area." So I feel like that is a huge integrity part because so often you can talk to a company and you're just like, you're just selling me something, right? I think that's something that we pride ourselves in too as an organization. We're not just going to sell you if we don't think this is going to work for you, we're not going to suggest it, right? I think there's something
Absolutely.
very powerful in that.
And it's no different if somebody came to your firm and said, "Hey, we want a full 2-year branding campaign." And you sit down with them, you go, "Hey, we may eventually want to do that for you, but right now you need some SEO. Right? Right now you need these basics." And it's like, so there's always the phased approach. And
Mhm.
I know that you guys do that with your clients, and we try to do that as well to go, "Hey, let's plan forward. If you need something super cool, awesome. That'll be fun. We'll have a great time." But a lot of times it's let's relook at your business process, relook at the way you do business. And sometimes that alone can get them to where they need to go. So
Right. Yep. And being curious, I feel like I get that from you is that you're just like genuinely curious. You ask the right questions, which obviously I'm sure translates in when you're working with your customers too. Being curious and asking the right questions is what kind of extracts that. What do you truly need? What are your actual problems versus sometimes what you think you need is not actually the problem that is keeping you up at night. So
absolutely. And problem definition early on, even when I was doing consulting for the federal government, it's very easy to spend 3 to 6 months working on a problem that's actually not the problem. And so being really honest and clear about that, it may cost you business up front, but having the integrity and the honesty to tell people, it's no different from the guy that works on my car here in Knoxville. I remember the day I took my daughter's car to him, and he called me back and said, "Yeah, it doesn't need to be fixed. Just come pick it up. I fixed it." And having someone tell me, "I could have charged you $1,000. I didn't. I fixed it myself." Guess who I'm loyal to? That person, right?
mm,
And so hopefully we would prove ourselves to the people that we work with because we frankly, we genuinely enjoy it and have a good time doing it.
well, is there anything that I have not asked you yet that we should know about everything that you're doing or what who you're what else could I ask you that I haven't asked you?
So the only thing I would leave you with is that if you think about consulting firms and you think about the big four and this a lot of times the top 100, Eisner Amper, we're global. And so we have offices around the world. We have offices around the US. We have presence in places where we don't have offices. And so we're a national/global firm. And I live in East Tennessee in Knoxville, have colleagues in Nashville. And so if you think about this part of the country, we do a lot, we're excited to be here. We're here on purpose. And so Eisner Amper is, again, our mothership is in New York City. We're off of 3rd and 46th Ave. And my homeroom technically is the Baton Rouge, Louisiana office. And so it's fun to work for a global firm in 2025 where there's endless opportunities and they're very supportive of us. And so anyway, we're constantly introducing ourselves to people and happy to talk to people. And honestly, talk to a number of people and don't ever do business. And that's totally fine. Like we enjoy exploring conversations, exploring problems, may lead to business, may not. And so anyway, I appreciate personally the chance to be on here. When I saw your podcast the first time, I was like, man, this looks like fun. And so we appreciate the chance to tell you a little bit about the firm, a little bit about the services we do. And now I know, KNC Marketing, who to come to when we need help. And and especially for this part of the country.
Yes, for sure. That I mean, I'm so glad you reached out to me. I'm so glad that we were able to connect and this was excellent. I love everything. I love what you're about as a person. I love what you're doing to help people. And it's just such big, powerful work. So I really appreciate you being on today. So
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
To wrap it up, this is Robbi Dickens, Senior Manager from Eisner Amper. Robbie, can you tell us where we can learn more about you and learn more about the company?
Sure. EisnerAmper.com is our main page. My name is Robbi Dickens, RBBI, last name Dickens. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, and we have plenty of information on the website. And so let me know if you have any questions. Happy to visit with you. Thank you. Thank your people that follow and watch your show, and I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to be here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Industry Edge podcast. If you like what you heard on today's episode, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review or click subscribe so you'll get updates about future episodes. We'll see you again soon.